when you talk about pedophilia, you really shouldn't do that without any kind of forethought. But it's sort of what I did. I have this vision of Akron being the recovery city and trying to brand us that way, just simply because we are the city that is known as the founding of AA. Dr. Bob Smith was a surgeon here in Akron, and he was a raging alcoholic, and he, this is where it all began. So I just feel, and then we have Founders Day, it's coming up here in June, and I just feel like there is enough history here to become known as the recovery city. And I think it's like a cool, I just think it's a cool sort of position is all. Like, we got to become known as something. I mean, that's like, St. Louis has an arch, Paris has an Eiffel Tower. You really need something. This is how they did it when they tried to get people to go out to cities in the West. Like, they made these corn palaces. There's still a corn palace out there in, South Dakota. I've been to it. It's cool. But they would have these corn palaces to try and convince people to come out west. And like Mount Rushmore is that. Like, they were just doing things to try and convince people that they should come out west and check it out. And I believe that Akron needs something like that because it doesn't really have that on its own. Certain cities like, Pittsburgh and Detroit and Cleveland, they're big enough cities that they have this foundation that is probably enough to get them to, regenerate. But I'm not totally convinced that Akron has that. And so you kind of have to reinvent yourself. You have to make your own arch, the gateway to the West. And I think recovery could be that for us because we already have Founders Day. Thousands of people come here, and why not be the place where people do innovative and creative recovery methods? There's a lot of cool stuff going on in recovery right now. The things that really interest me, just because I guess it's me, is like how people are testing psychedelics on alcoholics and stuff like that. So at any rate, I'm writing this article, and I write, I put down that, like, we could be the recovery city for the homeless and the addicted and the drug dealers and the pedophiles. And then bam, people are like, holy crap, you did not just say the P word. You want to treat pedophiles, Sage? Pedophiles? And I'm like, ooh, that was not, I just kind of did throw that out there. And then, but then I'm like, well, yeah, I want to treat pedophiles and all sex offenders and like anybody that is in society that is potentially dangerous to society. Because, all right, look, we have sex offenders all over America, and our legal system has determined that they have done their time and they are now allowed back into society. And if we do not work with these people, it doesn't take a genius to realize that without engaging these people and helping these people through various types of treatment options, it is a high likelihood that they're just going to go back doing what they did because no one ever helped them change their ways. So, yeah, I wanted to help. Like, yeah, I want to help them. Like, I don't even, like, that's the whole point of everything that I do. Like, I don't believe you have to like any of these people. You can hate all of these people that I'm interested in, the homeless, the drug addicts, and still realize that it benefits you to treat them. You know, it benefits your society to engage them and work with them so that they can re-enter society and not be a drain on society and not hurt society, you know, through criminal acts and that sort of thing. So, like, it's a real obvious, you know, position for me to take. Like, I just don't know how you could be anti-treating anybody that is in society. I really believe if you're not going to treat them, then you need to warehouse them forever or you have to kill them. Look, those are really the three options. And nobody seems to want to do the killing part. I mean, I get a few wackos that are like, yeah, kill them all. I'm like, all right, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. That is an option. But most people are like, well, all right, look, we can't kill everybody I hate. You know, I hate my neighbor. Are we just going to kill him? And you're like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess. Like, where does it stop? You know? Or then you're like, well, okay, I don't want to kill everybody, but there are a lot of people I don't want in society. So, like, we already are doing that. Like, we have some of the highest prison rates in the world. Like, I don't have that number in my head, but you can go look it up. Like, and it's because we keep people in prison for so damn long. Like, we are doing what the people want, basically. We're like, yeah, we'll just keep them in prison forever. But eventually some of them get out because a judge says, look, you've spent enough time in prison, you've paid your debt to society, now get out. And as soon as that happens, then we have to deal with them. Like, I just don't know what else to do. Like if ignoring someone, not looking at someone, does not make them less dangerous or less likely to do bad things in society. You know? Do you know where pedophiles hang out, homeless pedophiles hang out? The library, man. Where else are they going to hang out? The library. They're at the library with your kids. And you don't know who is at the library because the library lets a lot of people in. So, you know, and if you don't let them in the library, then they'll go, I don't know, to the mall or Walmart or the park. They're going to go somewhere. The point is you can't ignore people into invisibility. You can't ignore them away. It seems like that truly is the answer that many people, including people in our government, are coming up with. Just ignore them and they will go away. If you don't see them, that doesn't mean that they aren't hurting society, you know? They're spreading disease and they're stealing stuff from stores and stealing stuff from neighborhoods and they're invisibly hurting society. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It just becomes like the public relations of it all is all that matters, it seems, you know, like, well, as long as we can't see them, Sage, then we don't really have a problem, right? If no one knows they're there, then everything is good. Yeah, well, they're like robbing neighborhoods. Yeah, but that just is like in the crime blotter of the police report. Most people don't realize that. And really, they're just stealing in the poor neighborhood. So it's fine, Sage. It's all fine. And I'm here to tell you it's not fine. Like, on every level you look at it, it's not fine. All right? So at any rate, then I wrote another letter or article about just pedophiles. And that was more considered. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to set the stage to then go backwards. Like I just took the worst case scenario, the people everyone hates the most, the pedophiles. And you say that word and you're just like, oh my God, he's raping babies. The pedophiles are raping babies. And for sure that's part of pedophilia, but it's really, it gets like gray, you know, like there's different areas, you know, religious organizations are allowing men to marry 13-year-old women, and they shouldn't. I'm not in all advocating any of that. I'm just saying that, look, this is like, it's not all about gross old men and babies. Like it's a sliding scale. And so are we going to kill all of them? Like, I guess that's the question. If you're labeled a pedophile, do you automatically die and spend the rest of your life in jail? Every one of them. I guess that's the question. So, again, that's where I'm all coming back to. I'm not condoning them. I'm not saying we need to get back into, like, you know, marrying young people. I'm not saying anything like that. All I'm saying is, if we can't kill them and keep them in prison for the rest of their lives, then we're going to have to work with them. That's the only thing I'm saying. And so then my thought is that if I went over here and went to the really hard people, like the pedophiles, and then I back up, like, okay, all right, so maybe you can see how we need to work with pedophiles, and then we need to work with drug dealers, and then we need to work with thieves, and then we need to work with, I don't know, people that beat their children and their wives, and then people are like, well, Sage, now you're just caring for the criminals. And like, no. I in my hierarchy of values, I would put feminist at the top. I honestly believe that women should start carrying around guns, not even concealed, just frickin' on their hip, because I'm a little concerned about what's happening in America and women's rights. It's getting a little crazy out there. I will always side with a woman over anybody else. Like, you know, like if a woman says whatever, then I'm like, fine, it's her choice. You know, so I'm not in any stretch of the imagination suggesting that, like, the rights of the criminal are more important than the rights of the victim. Never, ever. I'm merely saying that we can't ignore the criminals and hope that they just disappear. That's it. You can hate the criminal all you want, but you still, I think, can rationally understand that you need to treat them for our own sakes. So, and then I wonder if some people are thinking, well, why is he getting into pedophiles and drug dealers and thieves? And the reason is because they're part of the homeless population. They're out there, and we will never solve homelessness until we work with those people. Like, we have... Humans are so weird. Like, we're smart and stupid, like, instantly the same. Like, simultaneously. We're both smart and stupid. So, like, you know, you just say the word homeless and you have an image of somebody in your head, but that's not accurate at all. I mean, yeah, it's like an old, dirty man crumpled up in the corner of a cold city, you know, begging for change. It's that. But it's also like families and people that just became homeless, and people that have fallen into addiction, and young people and old people and veterans and grandparents and children and blah, blah, blah. It's all these things you can't really have. Even though you have an image of a homeless person, it's not accurate. It's never accurate. And so if we don't treat the underlying reason for people being homeless, we'll never treat homelessness. So, like, we'll never fix homelessness, because, like, being a pedophile, there are several things that, like, are like just this black mark on your life. An arsonist, a pedophile, and a meth cook. those are people that will never get into houses. Like, there's a few places it's almost easier for a pedophile to get into a house than an arsonist or a meth cook. Nobody wants people making meth in their houses, and nobody wants them to burn down their houses, right? So they're just like, wow, yeah, I'm not taking you. So at any rate, they're oftentimes left to live on the street or live in terrible conditions like drug houses, and it increases the likelihood that they'll go back to the old behaviors and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to do here, and I don't know if I'll have success, but maybe, is just have a dialogue to talk about difficult people. And when we talk about difficult people, then we can talk about what to do with them. That's all. That's all it is we're just trying, like I'll get people on these threads on Facebook, and they'll be like, I hate these people. You should hate them too, Sage. And I'm like, all right, fine, but what do you want to do with them? And very few people then have any solution. Like, one lady said, well, I want them in isolation. I want them forever isolated from all of us. I'm like, okay, so that's prison. So basically, they should stay in prison, or we should get like Pedophile Island or something like that. But probably they could swim off a pedophile island. So I think we just should maintain prison for life for all sex offenders. I think that's like, and then hopefully it doesn't take too long to be like, well, all right, every sex offender ever, life in prison, you can pee outside and get a sex offense on your record. It's like indecent exposure outside. So like there's all these different levels of, maybe if you pee outside one time and get caught because you were too drunk. I mean, am I the only one that ever done that? You just get super drunk and you have to pee in an alley. I mean, literally, I peed in the woods in the Akron Marathon. Because what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So that's indecent exposure. So I should be labeled a sex offender, I think, but I didn't get caught. So, so at any rate, we just have to talk about this. If I don't deserve to go to prison for the rest of my life because I peed outside once when I was drunk and once on the Akron Marathon in the woods, then what are we going to do with a guy like me? Because then it just, where do you draw the line where you're like, okay, Sage, you don't have to go to jail for all your life, maybe 10, 20 years for peeing outside, but and then I'm like, okay, so I'm a sex offender for indecent exposure, right? And because I peed outside. So you agree that I don't have to go to jail for the rest of my life. So and may I say, our former mayor peed outside. He was peeing outside. Like, it's in the newspaper. He was peeing outside. He was drunk and peeing outside on the Akron University lot. So he's a sex offender. So should he spend the rest of his life in prison? So if it's not that, then where does it start? Where does the life in prison start? And then you really start thinking about it, and it becomes very difficult to decide when a person needs, yes, you molest a 5-year-old and below, life in prison. Let's all agree. Perfect. Love it. Love it. All right. What about a 14-year-old with a consensual relationship? What do you think about that? Didn't Elvis hang out with Priscilla or whatever when she was 13 or 14? And Jerry Lee Lewis, I think, married his cousin when she was 13. Do they go to prison for the rest of their lives? Maybe. I don't know. We need to talk about it. But eventually you're going to have sex offenders that are not spending the rest of their lives in prison. They're going to be out here. We need to talk about it. And that's what I'm trying to do, is to talk about the hard things. And it's interesting, right? It's interesting to have these dialogues, these theoretical dialogues, things we are taboo to talk about, and we're talking about it. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is talking about hard things. And when we talk about hard things, I think we can start talking about solutions. So there you go. That's what I know. All right, everybody. Good to talk to you. You have a great day. Goodbye.